everybody, welcome back to MPQ Mastery, where we teach you to destroy more gems. I am your host, Eloy, and it's pretty exciting, actually, to be back here. I was gone for a while, um, personal things, but I am back. I do plan on coming back and putting more content out more regularly. So with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and let's jump into this team that I have kind of come up with here. It's another charge tile team. I did have one previously, and I even carry over one of the people over from it, which is Storm. But this is the team that we're looking at now. So what we have is we have the 5-star Storm, which I love, and we're going to go over a little bit of why I love her so much. But also, we have the new Mighty Thor 5-star, as well as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, the 4-star, who is another character who I've loved, and I just was always trying to find a good character or a good team for her to be on. Very, very excited to go over this team and really kind of show you just like why I think that this team works really, really well. And I've noticed that a lot of people are using the new Mighty Thor and they're using Storm together. I think people were still trying to find that really good third, and that is the challenge a lot of the time with this game, is trying to find a good third. There's a lot of good like two-person combos, but in this case, this is a really, really strong team. I use them a lot, just because there's so much. I think they're number 4 on my saved list. They're, because the latest one is always like, the one at the top. But this is a really, really cool team, and I'm excited to kind of share them with you. Storm is 544, as it says there. But let's start with Thor, because really kind of Thor and Negasonic are kind of the core of the team, and then Storm is there mostly to be kind of a support, right? So let's start off with Thor. So Thor I have at 553. Her yellow isn't that important to this setup, so just want you to kind of look at what we have here. But obviously her first power is Feel the Thunder. At a level 5, it does a bunch of damage, and then it does extra damage based on the charge tiles on the board, and then it does extra damage when it destroys charge tiles, right? So there's a lot going on there, and then it converts some basic tiles to charge tiles, right? So there you go. Like, that's already a lot that you're getting out of just one power. And this is why a lot of the time in this team, you're going to really focus on making sure that you're using Mighty Thor's blue and red abilities like pretty much constantly, because that's pretty much what this team is her, and then the other two are there kind of to help her get more powerful. Then we have Dr. Thor, which is the blue power again. What this one does, all it does at level 5 is it makes basic tiles charged, and it does 5 of them. The passive here is the most important, but you'll end up using the blue power a lot as well. But the passive for this is the super important one, because it's at the start of the battle. She'll convert 3 basic tiles to charge tiles, and at the beginning of every turn, she'll convert 1 random tile to a charge tile. And then if you have 8 AP or less in any of her strongest colors, then at the beginning of the turn, she's going to just destroy a bunch of random basic tiles. Tiles that are actually, they're going to destroy a bunch of tiles that are adjacent to charge tiles. And the important thing here is where it says prioritizing special tiles, because that allows you to basically get rid of a lot of the like power-up tiles and, enemy tiles. Even if they're fortified, you'll just have to do it twice. But the cool thing about this is that it does at the beginning of the turn and whenever she uses an ability. And again, you'll be using her abilities a lot. So if you're fighting a team that has special tiles on the board, don't even worry about it. So don't even worry about it. It is not an issue. So then her third power is Share the Love. This one can be at a 3, although it's also a pretty darn cool power. You end up not using it a lot in this team up, so I would go 553 for her. And this is the one that it destroys all the charge tiles, and for each charge tile, it deals a bunch of damage to a random enemy. Storm has one that's similar to this, only Storm's is capped, whereas this one is not. And that obviously makes Storm a better um, support character than, a direct, like, damage dealer. At the same time, you end up not using this one, you end up using Storm's yellow for the most part. So let's move on to Storm. So let's go ahead and talk about Storm here. So Storm, I go 5-4-4, and that's because I like the black power to be generating those charge tiles, which is a thing that she does as well. So 5-4-4 for Storm. Her first power is the Gathering Clouds, and what that does is at the start of the turn, she converts one black tile to a basic charge tile, and it ups the cap, having it at level 5 of the damage that she'll deal. She'll deal pretty much about the same amount of damage as Thor's dealing per tile destroyed, but hers is capped per enemy. Whereas sometimes I've used Mighty Thor and I've done tons of damage. But her black power, she is the only one on the team with black, so you're gonna end up using this, but you're gonna hold off on it. We'll get into strategy in a minute, but you'll use it every so often. It's not gonna be an always thing because you kind of don't want to overuse it. It's a thing, but we'll get into that. Her green power and her yellow power are where you're mostly gonna end up using Storm. So Ice Storm, you pick a color and it destroys a bunch of tiles of that color. And this can destroy any tiles, so charge tiles or basic tiles or special tiles or whatever. It's all random though, so it is what it is. And then her yellow power is where where you pick a color and it converts team up tiles to that color. So if you are really wanting to make sure that you're using Mighty Thor's abilities a lot, I end up switching it to blue and red a lot. Sometimes I'll do yellow so that I can charge up the yellow again to do it. It just really depends on the location of the team up tiles, obviously. So that's Storm. And Storm is actually, really, really dope. Again, she was in the other team that I had as well with Captain America and Jubilee. Her whole setup is just really, really good, where she's got a lot of things going on, but she's an amazing support. Let's go to the third member, which is Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And Negasonic Teenage Warhead, they just have Negasonic, but you can't just have that. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, come on. I have her at 5-4-4. The most important thing that you'll be using her for is her green ability. And what her green ability does is it's called Deal With It. And it's actually her active and her passive are both super important for this. So the green here is like super important. So the active part of it is that she deals damage to the whole enemy team and then it creates a 6-turn counter, and that counter is going to create that many charge tiles based on what the counter is at when it's matched or destroyed. So if it's at 6 and then you destroy it, then it'll create 6 charge tiles. This is actually a really cool way to refill the board up with charge tiles. After you've used either Thor's yellow or Storm's black. But also, anytime you have enough green, you're just going to end up using it. But the passive on here is also really cool because anytime you match or destroy a charged tile, you're going to destroy 2 other random tiles. They don't generate AP, but what they do a lot of the time is they create those cascades, right? So having her on a team with 2 other people who are constantly making charge tiles and also constantly destroying those tiles makes Negasonic an amazing addition to this team. So the red is pretty cool. She deals some damage plus some additional damage for each charge tile that you have matched or destroyed in the battle, but it's only capped up to 6 and you're going to be destroying so many more than 6. But then it just converts some to charge tiles. So it's an okay way to do it, like if you just really want to do it and you don't want to wait for Thor's, even though Thor's red ability is just way better. Then there's Resistor, which is okay. Like it swaps it swaps some tiles, and if it's black or blue, then and if you're at level 5, it also does purple. But essentially you swap some tiles, and if you do that, then if they're a certain color, then it'll turn them into charge tiles. Now, the thing about that though is the yellow here is competing with Storm's yellow. So her yellow, Negasonics, swaps randomly, whereas Storm's is more pointed because it converts the team up tiles. So I mean, if you really just kind of want to use it, you can. But I would say save your yellow for Storm, or if you have a bunch of charge tiles and you really just want to take out the enemy team, use it on Thor's instead. I said that wrong, actually. I would use it for Storms usually, or Thor if you really want to take out a bunch of people. So, but that's the team though, and kind of showing you exactly why they are cool. So let's get into the strategy of the team. Okay, so the strategy for this team is actually pretty straightforward. The strategy for this charge up tile team is you immediately want to jump into the fight and you want to start building up either green or blue or red. Really kind of it's weird to like have like half of the colors are the ones that you want. You want red and blue specifically so that you can start using Thor's charge up tile abilities, because both of them add more charge tiles to the board, and both of them, anytime you use them, will destroy tiles. On the flip side of that, green is for Negasonic's ability there, which puts a tile on the board to be destroyed to then add more charge tiles. That's the strategy there. You're going to keep destroying things, keep putting more charge tiles, keep destroying things, keep putting more charge tiles. Now, Storm is there to use her yellow ability so that you can more pointedly destroy the charge tiles or Negasonic's countdown, and so that you can it gets rid of the team up tiles, because you don't need team up tiles in this team, right? So you changing all of the colors that you can't really use, the team up tiles and stuff, you can just change them to the color that you actually need, thus feeding into the other things, thus destroying more, thus creating cascades. And every time that you're destroying a charge up tile, you're destroying two other tiles. Sometimes those tiles are other charge up tiles, which then creates this cascade of charge up tiles just constantly being destroyed and falling and then being destroyed and then falling and then being destroyed. I have sometimes like done a couple of matches and it's just like bah, 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 and it just keeps falling and it just never stops, because it goes away, especially when you use either Storm's black or Thor's yellow that destroys all of the tiles on the board. You can literally do one of those powers, deal a bunch of damage, and then just kind of sit there and wait for the game to stop destroying additional tiles. There is kind of an advantage to using Thor's overall charge up tile destruction power. First off, I did already mention it. Hers is not capped. Hers does destroy all of the ones on the board, just like everybody else's. Hers does, though, after the fact, adds a couple of charge tiles to the board so that you can start kind of rebuilding it after the fact. So, I mean, really, I've done a really good job of kind of convincing you that Thor's ability is better. At the same time, because that yellow can be used in a bunch of different ways, you can use it there, but a lot of the strategy of the team is kind of just leaving the charge up tiles there. So if you're gonna destroy them, you might want to hold off on that one in order to use Storm's yellow to start repopulating the board with more charge tiles again. On the flip side, Storm's black charge tile destructor ability, it is capped on the damage, but it's capped by a lot. Like, it still deals like 20,000, which is a lot depending upon who you're fighting. And it uses a color that you don't need anywhere else, right? It's the only black power, so it's fine. You're not wasting any resources that you could be using other places. So at times, I will sometimes, if there's like a really opportune place, like if somebody's put out like a really important special tile that you're like, ooh, you really need to get rid of that, I will sometimes not use Negasonics green. I will use Storm's green, because you can destroy things of a certain color, and it's random, so you may not destroy it, but sometimes you got to take that chance in order to see. And there's usually like so many charge up tiles, like you end up with lots and lots and lots of AP in order to get your powers going off. Like I usually have tons of AP and I'm constantly using them because again you're cascading and you're hitting things and it's falling and you're matching more and I mean it's really really good. You're getting a lot out of this team for very very little, I think. The negative sides of the team, Negasonic is actually kind of a glass cannon. If you end up making a match that puts her at the front, if she gets hit, like she is nowhere near the power level of the other two. Her being a 4-star versus the other two being 5 stars. It can sometimes take a few turns to get the destruction creation kind of cycle going, and if you're fighting a really powerful team that can knock you out in a couple of turns, you might end up losing, especially if Negasonic gets into front. And Storm is actually a little bit of a glass cannon too, so Thor ends up. I keep saying Storm and Thor. And like I'll say a sentence and I'll say Storm, and in my brain will say, "Did you say Thor?" No, I didn't. I said Storm. Sometimes, Storm is also kind of a glass cannon. So, but when Thor gets up in the front and you're using her blues and her reds, again, sometimes I'll have so many really good cascades of things falling and matching that like the enemy team doesn't even get a turn. When you're in 5-star land and you're using these 5-star characters, there's not a ton of like downside when it comes to using them. There's kind of only benefit. I guess the other downside would be that purple is not represented on the team. Sometimes I'll use Storm's green ability to just get rid of all of the purple because you don't need it, and then use your yellow Storm ability to just get rid of all of the team ups because you don't need those either. So you can actually customize the board with this team and make it exactly what you need it to be. So that's a really awesome team. I want you guys to go out and check it out. It's the 5-star Storm, 5-star Thor, Mighty Thor, Jane Foster edition. And then also Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Go check it out. Let me know how it did for you. I would really like to know down in the comments. Thank you for coming and watching the video. If you want to subscribe, do support the channel. Again, I should be back for 2023 and really start making some good videos here. I have another team that I'll be working on and getting a video out for that, as well as some videos comparing the different variants of different characters in the game and seeing if they're being represented correctly. I think that that's going to be a fun exercise to do in this game. So with all of that said, thank you for coming to MPQ Mastery. I've been your host, Deloy. Go destroy some gems.